first of all, I should remind when I met Guillaume Touton so many years ago in a wine convention. I think it was in Florida. And I was so young, we were so young. We started to work a little bit together. And then things happens because my life, well, it's a great, well, I'm so happy to be back at the end, no? With Guillaume and well, now all of you. Whenever it's possible to get together and meet us and go to promote together, that should be amazing. And now going back to my history, little history, is when I was born in the winery we were introducing, Palacios Remondo, is where I was born, is my parents and also grandparents and grandparents. Is my history in Rioja Oriental, in the eastern side of Rioja, in the village of Alvaro. So I was born there. To make it very brief, my father sent me to be prepared in the best places. So I went to Bordeaux, in University of Bordeaux. I had a great opportunity also to do some stage at the Moex family, where I could work in Chateau Petrus, Magdalene, Touton, etc., where I really meet France, and France produced on me a big impact. France light my passion and my fire into great classic wine. Well, anyway, I also went to Napa in 1986 before Bordeaux. I was working with Staxley Winery, which was a great experience too. And I started becoming a big fan of US, because US market started to produce on my head a lot of excitement. I was like 22 or 23 years old. Then I came back at 23 years old, back home to start working, but I wanted to do something else. We are several brothers in the family, and especially I had eldest brothers. But anyway, Spain was like waking up those days. We are talking about 1988, 1987, 1988. 1989 is when I decided to go somewhere else to do my own. So I was invited by a friend, René Barbier. I was invited to, if you see the map, you can, in Catalonia, below Barcelona, you see Priorat. So 1989, René Barbier invites me to meet the vineyards in Priorat. And I stay there and I start making my own project. That was 1989. I was 25 years old. It was something that it was a big trend. It was a big dynamic moment for Spanish wines, especially for those who were running out of big productions, so from Rioja, etc. No? The world, US and the world was waiting for something very exclusive, some kind of cru conception from Spain. No? That was what was happening. Then, very brief, that was after 10 years, 1999, one member of the family, my nephew Ricardo, suggests me to go to Bierzo, which is in the northwest of Spain. We see the map that we had before in the picture. So it was no, in the Spanish map, exactly. So he suggests me, he provoked me to go to Bierzo. I was already 10 years in Priorat, and I could already do myself after the bad times I passed to really grow up in Priorat. The start was quite hard. And no money, 0%. So I was like selling barrels to other wineries from doing whatever to survive. But 10 years after, I was like sewing up. And my nephew was coming back from his trainings and studies in Bordeaux. He studied in Blanquefort, Viticultura Enologie. Also, he works for Chateau Margaux. I introduced him Margaux. I was to introduce him in Romane Conti when he came one weekend from Bierzo and tell me, "Uncle, I want to make wine in Bierzo. Let's do something together." And I say, "Okay, let's go there." So this is 1999. And that's about these two projects. And then, just the year after, the year 2000, unfortunately, my father passed away by a cancer. Anyway, my mother and brothers, they decide to give me the responsibility of the winery Palacios Remondo.
Wow.
So this has been 20 years now. It's going to be 21 years now since I've been making the wines and running the business with my sister Cello, etc. No? And that's why it's 3 regions. And now very much the last 20 years in Palacios Remondo in Rioja, putting everything on it because I had to do a lot of changes. This is maybe long to explain, but it's about what happened in Spain. For example, in Palacios Remondo, we have 100 hectares vineyard. Guillaume was there with his father once. I have the pictures still at home.
Wow, that's cool.
And,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And this vineyard, what happened is that you know that everybody speaks about Rioja. Well, you see, there is Rioja. There is 3 Riojas. Okay, it's like the subzones or areas in Rioja. One is Rioja Alta, which will be the western side. Okay, Rioja Alavesa, which is in the middle north, because it's the Basque country in the middle north up there. And then in the right-hand side, in the eastern side, is the Rioja Oriental. So there is where we belong. But Rioja is very long. I mean, it's about 170 kilometers long distance. Okay, from west to east. And here we have different microclimates, especially Rioja Alta is very close to the Cantabric Sea, as you can see in the map. So there is more oceanic influence, there is more rain. The rain average is higher than the rest of Rioja. Also, Alavesa in the north has the same climate, more rainy than when we are, which is the eastern side of Rioja. Eastern side of Rioja, you see, is a little bit closer to the Mediterranean coast, which means that the climate is much drier, arid, okay? It's more luminosity. There is more hours of sunlight, right? So in history, everything was perfectly established in terms of which grapes to grow in every area. So it's like in Bordeaux, for example, up to nowadays, we know that in Medoc, Cabernet Sauvignon is going to be a better growing. Merlot, Cabernet Franc is going to be better at the right bank side, at the right bank in Pomerol, Saint-Emilion. Okay, so in Rioja is a little bit the same. Everybody speaks about Tempranillo only.
Right.
But in the old days, there was more Garnacha than Tempranillo. Why? Because Tempranillo, the name Tempranillo means, temprano means early in Spanish, right?
Oh, I know.
So this grape is an early ripening grape. It's a short vegetal cycle to be ripe before the rains of September, to be ripe phenolically before the rains of September, right? So this grape has been always in Rioja Alta and Rioja Alavesa, in the upper side, because it's the rainiest area, okay? Right. And the coolest. So from the mid-Rioja, all the Rioja Oriental, so mid-Rioja, all the half side in the eastern side, it was always Garnacha and some other local varieties field blended in the old vines. You can see still in some old vines this kind of blends. But anyway, 90% Garnacha in every vineyard.
Right.
So what happens is that first of all, is Garnacha compared to Tempranillo. Anyway, Garnacha develops itself beautifully in areas which are drier. So that's why it was in this area of Rioja, producing very vibrant, high acidity wines. Right. Tempranillo pHs are very high and the acidity is not too high. So it has to be in a rainy, cooling areas, okay? Right. But the problem is that Garnacha yields very little, especially the old clones of Garnacha produced in bush vines shape, okay? Produce very little. Meanwhile, Tempranillo is very consistent. Every year produce more or less the same, consistently, and of course, much more productive than Garnacha. And in the 80s in Spain, when everybody was trying to figure out what to do to come out from very declined times in the past, because at the end, the 20th century was hard times for the agriculture areas of Spain. So immediately the revolution came with the irrigation systems in the middle of the 80s. And everybody start planting tempranillo in the eastern side also, okay? So this is my father planted La Montesa in the mid-80s. Thanks God that he planted half of it with garnacha, but the trendy thing was to do tempranillo and mazuelo and graziano, varieties that normally you grow in the upper side of Rioja. But they were so much on fashion, and with the irrigation you could do it. So he made a very modern vineyard, which is La Montesa, and he planted half garnacha, a little bit less than half, and the rest was tempranillo, mazuelo, graziano. So I've been, after my experience in Priorat, here, there, all this life working, I learned that in the old world, the best thing we have is the inheritance we have about is especially is the culture that we have by the ancestors, no? With the varieties, the perfect affinity of every variety and each environment. That is something great. It's something unique. So this I learned in Priorat, because in Priorat there was also some Cabernet Sauvignon, some Syrah, etc. In Priorat, the main grape is Garnacha too, with a little bit of Carignana. But in also the modern times, especially Catalonia, which is a very modern region, they had Cabernet Sauvignon also here by Torres, by Jan Leon in the 60s, in the 70s they brought it, and some people put it also in Priorat. So it was a tempting thing from the beginning, but I realized that was not the right thing. The right thing is supposed to be the genuine and the most typical wine of the region. For me, personality and character, and what in French is said that typicity or typicité, no? Is the most important thing for me, the most, in many aspects. To grow the vines with no problems in organic viticulture, if you want to do it, is the best way to do, is to do what it was done from the old days. Right. And also in the glass makes beautiful senses. I mean, it has the perfect sense. So I've been like 15 years grafting all those tempranillos and gracianos back to garnacha. Today also planting more. So today, a planting in that picture you can see that is a planting of 17 hectares that I did 12 years ago, and that is garnacha. Is a clonal massal selection from the village of Alvaro, and everything is in bush vines and very narrow, like in the old days. That's why I had to buy a Burgundy tractor, one of those jumbo tractors that the vine goes below the tractor. No, it's the only one in Spain. Imagine. So I want to go with La Montesa for the future, whatever I'm going to increase or not, to do it in the old days, to have a perfect picture of what it was when I was a little kid and I drank those wines. So this long introduction, excuse me for this, is about to tell you, first of all, what I've been doing, because the main thing is the vineyard. First thing for me is the grape variety, to work with the local varieties of the region, and then other things, because since the last 10 years, all the vineyard, 100 hectares, has been 35 as organic grapes, organic viticulture, which is a big challenge too. At the end, La Montesa bottling is about 700,000 bottles, which is all 35 organic in the bottle. So it's one of the very few in the world about so many quantity of bottles of Crianza wine organically labeled. Then we have to speak about the region. But do you have any questions before I go with it?
No, I think that's perfect. You summarized it really good. And, I think an interesting thing that I read was that when you came back to the estate, that you decreased production by about 60%. So you really narrowed.
As far as you use garnacha, you are decreasing the yields to 60%, because tempranillos, modern tempranillos produce 8,000, 10,000 kilos per hectare. Okay, in acres I cannot tell you right now.
Yeah.
But it's about, just to give 10,000 kilos per hectare. Garnacha is going to be 6,000, 5,400, 4,500 kilos. It's almost half, not half, but almost half. Wow. But some vintages, garnacha also can go down. The main problem of garnacha is the memory. It has a very, very deep memory. So it has in his genetical engineers, in his genetical functions, it has this memory. It gets the tidiness of previous vintages behind, and sometimes it shows you very little quantity of clusters. But then there is another problem. It's it's called in English. It's called the berry setting. Okay,
Yep.
When the flower goes to fruit.
Yep.
So it's very vulnerable in that time, especially when you work with the local historical clones, with the old clones. Today there is new garnachas has been working in the nursery, and they work better. But Montesa is 60% old clones. So sometimes you have much less than other years. So this is also one thing why garnacha disappears from Rioja Oriental.
Right.
I have to tell you one more thing, is the Rioja Oriental is about 23,000 hectares. 30, 40 years ago, it was 100% garnacha. Today, there is only 3,000 hectares from 23,000. The
Wow.
rest is irrigated tempranillo in wire trellising vineyards, right?
That's so
Very
crazy.
modern, very intense viticulture. Okay, so we are really, really rare. Where you are having a Montesa is something really rare in Rioja. And fantastic, because at the end we have achieved a beautiful harmony, balance, and beautiful flavors and texture and freshness, because at the end Garnacha, before we talk about the soil and the mountain of Yerga of Alfaro, no, where the vineyard is, I have to tell you that Garnacha is one of those Mediterranean grapes. We have Garnacha for those mild, dry, arid, hot climates, but not extremely dry and hot. There is much warmer and hotter in Spain. So Garnacha is for those first really warm and drier than others. But one of the great things that these grapes has is the high acidity, very low pHs. So wines, maybe they don't have tannins of other grapes like Tempranillo has, but it has a beautiful and very vibrant acidity that also keeps the wines ahead in life for long periods of time, okay, for long time. And also is a grape that makes very refreshing, very fresh wine in a warmer areas. But then you have grapes that goes further than that. For example, Bobal, Monastrell. Monastrell is Mourvedre in France, right? But it's a Spanish grape coming from Murcia, Alicante, Yecla, in the area of in the southeastern side of Spain, and also the Bobal. So those two grapes, Bobal and Monastrell, which is Mourvedre, those are also they can also support even much drier climate and much warmer climates. So just to tell you, most of you know this, but just to remind. So Garnacha is what we have, but also there is 8% of these other grapes. There is Bobal, there is another one, there is also Tinta Velasco, that also, they were always there. At the end, La Montesa is a copy of a very old vineyard, a very old small vineyard. You can find very few today, but it represents one of those in a very big format, we should say, in 100 hectares, one block vineyard. Right, and then just to explain about the climate more precisely, I have to tell you that we are in the eastern side, at the end of the eastern side of Rioja, going to Catalonia, no, by the Ebro River Valley. Yeah, you see, that's the map that I was looking for. The previous one. Yeah, that's one. So you can see we are in the right-hand side. You can see Palacios Remondo, red letters in the top there, in the right-hand side. So we are right in the extreme area. And then in the left-hand side, you can see Aro, La Guardia, very, very famous villages of Rioja.
Right.
Aro is the most known. So that's Rioja Alta. That's Tempranillo land, okay? But you can see that there is, in the south of the map, you can see a very mountainous range, okay? That is all the south of Rioja, and that's called the Iberian Range, El Sistema Ibérico. It traverses Rioja by the south and goes to the south of Catalonia, goes farther down, okay, farther down. So the best garnachas of Rioja Oriental has been always planted in the foothills of these ranges, of these mountains. So for example, Alfaro, if you see in the map, Alfaro is the village in the river, which is about 300 meters of altitude, but the vineyards are from 400 to 700 meters of altitude,
Wow.
up in the foothills of these ranges. Our part of this mountain is called Jerga. Okay, you can see this picture is from east to west.
Yeah.
Okay, the other one, well, it's complicated to explain. Sorry.
No,
The other, you understand the picture, huh? The map.
Yes.
Okay, so you can see all these ranges, all these mountains. So in Rioja Alta, you can see in the right-hand side, the clear color is the valley of the river. The Tempranillos are always in the valley of the Ebro River. Meanwhile, in the eastern side of Rioja, in the Rioja Oriental where we are, the vineyards are not in the valley of the river. They are up to the foothills of the mountain. So our soils are a colluvial origin and alluvial too, but mainly colluvial. All pebbles, big pebbles coming from the top of the ranges of the mountains. We can, yes, that's it. So it's a blend of colluvial and also some alluvial from the tertiary era. Everything is a sedimentary soil from the quaternary era in the surface, but immediately in the bottom we have tertiary era. So it's a blend of pebbles from different origins. You can see there, but it's clay, sand, and silt. It's a beautiful texture. Then the pebbles, they have different origins because we have a quartz, we have some volcanic ophids because there was a little eruption at the end behind of the mountain. So from millions of years, we have these stones of lava also blended in the conglomerate. Also some grass, I don't know how to say grass in English, but it's a texture of sand, and a lot of arenisca stone, limestone stones. But the main thing is what you see, these different colors. In the surface, you see a very rich iron red color, rich in iron. The red is iron. So all that clay and sand and silt is rich in iron, is warm, is fertile. Well, fertile is not to grow vegetables, but more fertile than the white horizon you see in the bottom.
Right.
That white horizon you see in the middle, that is something that really brings the typicity and the grace to our wines. Eso es carbonato cálcico. It's a calcium carbonate. It's a very chalky matter. Okay, that is very poor in organic matter, very cold, and very flavorful because it has a lot of chalky flavors, very, very calcareous flavors. For example, champagne is I have to remind you, is like 1 or 2 meters of very brown, rich soil in the surface, and then you have 10 or 20 meters of white matter, ¿no? Que es como la tiza, it's called a cre, I don't know how to say in English. But that brings the flavors to Champagne. It's not only the rain and the good climate of cool climate and rainy climate of Champagne. It's also the humid chalk flavors coming with the Chardonnay or the Pinot Noir, bringing this freshness and this chalky. I don't know.
Yeah, the minerality. Yeah.
So here we have something like happening, because in La Montesa this is just one of the tastes, but sometimes we find a much wider white horizon than this. So it varies from one area of other areas of La Montesa because it's 100 hectares and there is a lot of variations. For example, at the end of the I will explain you about our wine La Valmira, that for example is this little vineyard of 3 hectares is only 20 centimeters in the surface of red brown matter, and then 6 meters of white carbonato cálcico. So the flavors in these wines are all about chalk, and then we have the raspberries, the strawberries, the cranberries, the orange peel, and the Mediterranean herbs in this garnacha typicity of grape, no? So it's something really beautiful. Then the altitude, as I said before, we are La Montesa, the media of the altitude is 550 meters, let's say, more or less. And we enjoy something special there. We enjoy something, the breeze is coming from the north, from everywhere. And just let me find, here we are. See, soul, balance, vineyard pride, orderly and neat formation extending across 100 hectares. Classic vineyard surrounded by the rugged nature of Mount Yerga, is the name of the mountain where we are. Limestone and clay furrows, conglomerate soils, and an arid windsweep spot that benefits from the cooling factor of elevation. Garnacha character, a traditional flavor that regains its historical prominence. The passion for natural wine growing practice on the highlands of Alfaro is renewed every vintage. Well, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So, I have some wine with me. I know you don't have the wines, but please, if you have some questions.
Actually, I do have the wines. I have the wines.
Ah, so great.
People at home don't. But
so, shall we start by, shall we taste Vendimia also? Or we go for La Montesa?
So let's, what lineup would you like to do? The Montesa I have right here in front of me. I also have the Placette, your white wine, which I'd like to speak about for a moment too.
Right. Well, the only thing is that La Vendimia is our modern cuvée, our young cuvée, yes. Blah, blah, blah. It's very successful because of the price, because of the packaging, because it works. But it is not something that I put my best. I just put it in correct way.
Yeah.
La Vendimia is Garnacha mainly with Tempranillo from Rioja Alta. So it's a Rioja classic blend in a wine with just a little bit of wood. It's only 4 months in wood. It's more about rackings in the wood than a real thing. So my real efforts and passion is about the Montesa. But let's say something about the Vendimia, and then we will taste the white to go to the Montesa. So La Vendimia means the harvest. As you can see in the label is represented by this kind of a vine that you see orange, red, yellow, green, but then you see purple, blue, dark blue. So purple, blue, dark blue is Tempranillo, and all these orange, red, yellow is about Garnacha. This is just very few. I have 2 growers that sell me more Garnacha for this wine, and then another 2 growers in Rioja Alta for Tempranillo. That's more or less the philosophy of this wine. So it's not like Montesa, which is all made by our own vineyards. Okay. But well, it works very well. I don't know. So here we have the 2018 that I normally. So you have 18 in your inventory, huh?
We do. We have 2018. Yes.
Okay. So 18 was one of those vintages that are really, really elegant and fresh, beautiful, because in 2018 is like is the return. It was the return to normal records of climate, rain average, lower temperatures in winter, after years of dry weather in summer, hot summers. So 18 was a little bit like going back to the ancient records of climate. That's why 18 is fresh, is elegant. La Montesa 18. Now we are with the 17, which is beautiful, and 18 will be in the market in March. Okay? Well, now La Vendimia, as I told you, Garnacha with some Tempranillo, fresh wine, young wine, fruity.
I love this wine. And is this 100% organic as well?
No. Unfortunately not. It's what I was telling you. I cannot convince them. When you purchase grapes, it's more difficult.
Yeah, it's more difficult.
To do organic, it has to be yourself. Today in Rioja, it has to be yourself. Nobody is selling organic grapes. Everybody wants to do easy efforts.
Not everyone wants to go the historic, difficult route like you. So,
yeah. But just for example, just to tell you, Vendimia, we produce about 320,000 bottles, but Montesa is 750 bottles. So Vendimia, that's supposed to be the wine to really bet for big quantities, no commercial, yeah, it's not my interest, okay? My real passion is to drink a great value the great value of La Montesa, classic wine aged in oak, with the local grape from this region, you know, transmit all these feelings and sensations.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to taste Montesa next?
No, let's taste now Placet, the white.
Okay, let's do that.
And I just explain you very little things.
So the interesting thing about Placet is this is the only white wine that you make, isn't that right?
It's the only. It's my father, he planted this little part of La Montesa with Viura grape. Viura grape is the most, in Rioja there is 6.8% of white, and it's mainly Viura, okay? So, my father, when he planted La Montesa, he also planted these 4 hectares of Viura in La Montesa, okay? And before this, he was always making a very fresh white wine, you know, stein still fermented, very fresh, very dynamic. My youngest brother and myself, we decided to change the way of doing it. And that was very long time ago. It was back to 1993, 94. Wow. We were the first to start fermenting the grapes into new wooden vats, no barrique. There were some people doing barrique. It was the famous trend of Chardonnay in barrique. So also in Rioja, some people doing in new barrel, but we were doing in 5,000 liters vats. Okay. Today we are making it in ovals of 2,000 liters, right?
Oh, okay.
See,
so big, like food roads?
Yeah. So at the end, 4 hectares in the middle of La Montesa, white Viura grape, organically grown. We fermented in these oval wooden vats of French oak. Also, the wine stands for 9 or 10 months in these vats. So the grapes now has about 32 years or 33 years of age.
And the name Placet means consent, isn't that?
Yes. And Placet means permission.
Permission, okay.
Permission to do the placet to do it. It's an ancient Castilian or an ancient Spanish. The permission to do something. So my father gave us the permission to change the way of making the white in this wooden vats. So
that's cool. No,
I forgot to finish my explanations.
No, that's good history. I like that.
So Viura is a sister of Macabeo. Macabeo in France, Macabeo in Catalonia, Viura in Rioja, right?
That's delicious. It's so bright and crisp and refreshing, but then you also have those layers of depth and richness and complexity and lots of layers there.
17 was a warm vintage.
It's still beautiful.
And also the wine really, this wine, como diríamos, thanks to be open for a while in the bottle.
Yeah, I double decanted this about an hour and a half ago. Oh yeah, it's
right. I didn't do it.
Yeah, I double decanted it about an hour and a half ago, and it's beautiful right now. It's perfect temperature. It's really expressive. Nice cream and spice, but really bright acidity, really well balanced.
A lot of phenol, white fruits, phenol, white pepper.
Mm-hmm.
It's very curious that we find all over Rioja this grape, historically speaking, in the north of Rioja and in the eastern side of Rioja. It's always Viura. Tiny bits of Malvasia, historically speaking, and non Garnacha Blanca ever. Very curious. Very curious.
That's unusual.
See, it's como, and I never wanted to plant it or graft it in any vineyard because I said, if it was not there, must be a reason.
Yeah, there must
because
be a reason.
as I told you before, it's not only about blah, 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 blah. No. I mean, if you grow Mazuelo in Rioja or Tempranillo in Rioja Oriental, you're going to have you're going to have much more mildium, especially oidium, much more oidium than Garnacha. So it's going to be much tougher, much harder to combat and to work with. Garnacha, you work very well with it. So maybe Garnacha Blanca was not able to do it and never try it. But this is an example. It's not only what you find in the glass, which for me is in the old world, you're going to find the perfect one is going to be the one that has been always done there. Like, it's so many generations behind, so many centuries doing the thing, no? But it's also about growing the vineyard in organic agriculture. Because if you do chemical, you boom, 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 you just bomb the vineyard and you can grow whatever you want. But when you have to do this way, is when you really learn more things.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So now we go to my dear Montesa, my beloved, and wow. I have the 17, which is this packaging.
17, yes, exactly. So that's exactly what I have. 17, and that's what we have in New York and in the United States is 17.
Exactly.
2017, Montesa.
So, bueno, you see the label, the back label, as everybody knows, the back label, you see Rioja Crianza. If you look carefully, you will read Crianza in the red here.
Yeah.
No, here. Yeah. So here you see, ¿dónde? Oh, Jesus. Aquí, yeah, exactly. Crianza. So that means that compostory is a wine that has been aged at least for 1 year in the barrels. In 2,025 liter barrel, something that I don't agree, it should be like that, by law it's like that. Garnacha doesn't need to be in those small barrels. But anyway, I do myself, we have a special case for this, which is always at 13 Celsius degrees, with 85 humidity, moisture all the time. And is about 85% French oak and 15% American oak. And then we have from 7 years old barrels to a little bit of new every year, okay? So this is from new to 7 years. But the main thing is about the selection of these grapes, how to select everything. Every single crosser goes by, it used to be optic. Now we bought the optic machine like 5 years ago, and now yes, I put it away because at the end we are 25 people selecting the grape.
Wow! So 25 people picking.
No, yes, table assorting table.
Right.
Assorting table.
And so you find that better than the optical sorter. You find
at the end, I wanted to do it so well that I had to put people at the beginning and at the end. So because at the end I do berry by berry, and in the beginning is process. So at the end I said, this machine is so hard to wash every day, blah blah, and it doesn't do the job very good. You have to do it with a computer. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So the best thing, what I want to tell you is that it's really, really tough selection. All the berries are integrate, round, beautiful berries. Because the problem with Garnacha is going to be, there is many years. We have been so many years of very healthy harvest, very healthy crops, because weather, we all understand that is a little bit change, and we are very healthy, but we have more racings than before. So I don't want to have any racing in the inside. Okay.
Right.
So that's my real obsession when we select.
But it's so fresh. The first thing I noticed is how aromatic it is. It's almost like Burgundy. It's so aromatic and fresh.
Is what I speak at the beginning, the great acidity that they have. And also Garnacha, it has something so beautiful, which is, there is a monoterpene, una molécula aromática, which is linalol, and la limonella. That molécula aromática is always about orange peel, tangerine peel, grapefruit peel, yellow or red, more right, less right. But this acidity and flavor is acidity with flavors, with aromas, and it's about citric. It's always citric. So you have the red fruits, You have the cherries, you have the cranberries, blah, 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 blah. But always this acidity, citric acidity, bringing the wine beautiful liveliness. So, bueno, then the wine ferments in, because we are talking about 750,000 bottles, is about 2,900 barrels sometimes. And it ferments in 18,000 liters tanks of stainless steel. We ferment there, but we do a very long macerations. We do very long macerations because Garnacha it hasn't got much tannins. Okay, it's not like Tempranillo or like Cabernet Sauvignon or like Merlot. Garnacha is more like Pinot Noir in terms of phenolic enrichment. So long maceration, 35, 45, 60 days maceration sometimes. No problem. We fill them, we refill them with one each other, and close, we let them go macerating.
Huh. So you remove the oxygen mostly?
No. The thing is, we don't let them just like that. We just retop with tank and tank. The sister goes, half of it goes to the other, half of it goes to the other one. And at the end is to have all the tanks filled up with no oxygen, and then we can leave them macerating as much long as, because we will never have some bitterness or nothing. So that's the way. Then press, and then go to malolactic. We do it in the tank because we cannot do in the barrel, so many barrels, and then goes to the barrel for 12 months.
Mm-hmm. But even with that, you know, the maceration and then the oak aging, it's still, you just get what you want. You just get the fruit. The oak is there, but it's,
and always learning because so I'm looking for the vintage, but I have to tell you that it has been 20 years, but it has been so many years of learning, because at the beginning I have to do Montesa as it was Tempranillo and Garnacha.
Right.
Also at the beginning was Tempranillo from us, Garnacha from us, but then also Tempranillo from Rioja Alta. That was how it was. So I start changing all this, and then start to grow Garnacha by itself, and then make 100% Garnacha. Woo! That was a real, in Spain, people from many years, it used to be a lot of Garnacha everywhere, but if you ask someone in Rioja to plant Garnacha, they just tremble. They just get they explode. If you tell them to do organically, then it's a frightening. But also there is fear in the wineries, because everybody speaks that Garnacha in the old days was so oxidative, blah blah blah. It has many polyoxidasas, etc., etc. And Garnacha, at the end, it could be a capricious grape or a little bit vulnerable as everyone. But it has the beauty and the perfect adaptation to those places like where we are. And it's really amazing. And at the end, I have achieved the possibility of doing such a big quantity of this kind of grape and wine. And every year we are improving and improving and improving. So it has been, first Garnacha by itself of La Montesa was 2013. Okay. There were so many vintages behind with Tempranillo, etc. So 13. If we taste them all the way to now, it's just an improvement. More purity, more precision.
Precise, yeah, precision.
More precise. 18 is there is any hurt. It's not hurt. It's todo plac, perfecto. And then it has all these noble and classic character and flavors and sensations that, wow, is what you find in the 17. At the end, it's a classic wine. It's almost like a Garnacha from Rhone, or sometimes like a Pinot Noir, because they're so different. But many people says Garnacha is like Pinot Noir of the South, that made those ones with not much color, not much structure, but beautiful magic and beautiful liveliness, freshness, and this kind of I don't know how to say in English, but la cosa mágica, the enchants, enchants would be a good expression to say the mysteries, of
the mysteries, yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And if you're saying that the 2018 is that much better than even the 17, I'm really excited for the 18, because the 17 is beautiful.
18 is little bit lighter. little bit lighter in texture, but wow, the expression is incredible. This is 92 points Parker, 18 is 93 plus. Pero bueno, anyway, I don't know. This has been so successful, this 17, in the restaurants, in the bars, people drink it crazily.
Yeah.
Everybody says, when you open a bottle of La Montesa, there's no way to stop it. You finish it.
Yeah, exactly. You just need to order a second bottle.
You just speak, talks, enjoy, blah, blah, blah. It's beautiful.
So we're past time, but I definitely want to speak about your top line, the propriedad.
About Propiedad. Propiedad is a wine that I do also very little. We just produce 20,000 bottles, 15,000 bottles, not every year. And it's because I have one very old vine, and then I have also a supplier who has another very old vine, and with those two vineyards and other one, we make this this very old. You can see in the label viñas viejas, no, old vines in Spanish. So we make these old vines, Garnacha, from Alfaro, from Yerga Mountain. But I always speak the truth. It's something that I do it because I have to do something else, because if not, the range is so short. Some distributors tell me, Alvaro, we don't have portfolio with your wines. But what I really want to do for the future is to do Propiedad with but one single vineyard that I am thinking about. One single vineyard, but I need to buy it, and the guy is always there waiting. So whenever I close the deal, we will do a Propiedad that will be one single vineyard with the name of the vineyard, and that will be very easy to understand, and it will be a wine with a very, very big talent.
Yeah.
Mucha calidad.
That's exciting.
Sí. So, for example, there is not 16 Propiedad, there is not Propiedad 18. It will be a little bit of 19, just 10,000 bottles for the whole world. So, if you have it there, anyway.
But these wines can also age for a long period of time too, because
yes, you have to keep them seriously well. I mean, it has to be in a cave. If they're in a cave, they really last. They really last very well. Montesa, let's say, if it's normal vintages, beautiful 15 years. If it's a great vintage, could go even farther than that. Propiedad, it will age better, of course, because there's very old vines. The vineyards of Propiedad are 90 years, 85 years. Bush vines. So, I mean, it's not like a Bordeaux,
right,
tannic and splendid for long life living, no? But it's more like Burgundy, let's say.
Yeah, it definitely develops that way. And before we sign off, I want to speak about your new baby here, the Valmira. We don't have this yet in the United States, but this is a new
yes. We have it. In Folio they have it.
Oh, they have it. Okay, so we don't have it at Touton yet.
Exactly. Must be. I don't know. Well, this is my real. It's incredible. When I went back home, I was trying to find the best vineyards just to do something else, but something really great. And I found this vineyard. It's only 3 hectares. And this guy, he wants to exchange by another land that we bought for him. It's like, nobody sells here. Nobody sells anything. And also you cannot break in the prices to something crazy. So you have to wait, and at least you can exchange for something that could go well for him, for the owner.
Right. The trade.
So in Valmira, I could do this. It was back to 2002 when we could get this vineyard in our property. So I start working with it. I have all these experiments in my cellar, but we start putting the wine in the market with the vintage 14. Okay, so this vineyard, and you say, why not before? Because the owner of this vineyard, of this land, and this vineyard. He planted this vineyard in the 1985. It was the boom of Tempranillo. Well, Tempranillo was booming. Oh, Tempranillo, only Tempranillo will survive and will be able to live with. So the guy, he planted 80% Tempranillo and 20% Garnacha. So I've been, and in bush vines, no double cordon. Double cordon is very easy to graft to our outer variety, but bush vines, you have to go to the roots, and that's so complicated. So I've been grafting. I was grafting this vineyard for 8 years. So I have wines, but I have 300 bottles. I start with 100. There was one time there was only one barrel of 190 liters. So then 300 bottles, 400 bottles, and then when I could have already 2,000 bottles, I became to the market with the vintage 2014. So it's very new, but it has been so successful. It's so successful. So this vineyard is what I was telling you at the beginning. Is much higher of altitude. It's close to La Montesa, but it's like almost 150 meters more of altitude. But it's not about the altitude, everything. It's because the soil is what I told you before. It's only 20 centimeters, just 1/4 of fertile soil, brown, red color soil, and then 5-6 meters of carbonato cálcico, white like this paper.
Right. Wow.
So it's una garnacha, very clear color, but enormously vibrant, lively, with flavors of chalk, all the red fruits. It's very delirious. It's really big class. It's like if you are familiar with a Moët Saint-Denis in Burgundy, that kind of wine, the Clos Tart, that texture which is so almost fragile, but it's plenty of flavors, plenty of explosion of flavors and sensations, very deep and very long flavors. So it's something beautiful. It's called Quignon de Palmira, is the name of the land. It will be, with the vintage 2020, will be classified as a viñedo singular, which is what we are doing in Rioja now, just to guarantee that the wine comes from one vineyard, which is very good, whatever. But the price is high. It's a high price.
Yeah.
This wine, I don't know, in US must be $350 a bottle retail, something like that. So we produce about 4,000, 5,000 bottles from 3 hectares. Incredible. We produce very little. The production is very little.
Well, no, I'm super excited.
The natural production, I mean. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I'm very excited to discover that. And I see in the chats below, it looks like there's some planning, and we're going to get some for Touton, hopefully. So hopefully we can offer that to some of our customers here soon. But
great.
We've gone over, as tends to happen, but it's really been just thrilling to speak to you, Alvaro, and just thank you for sharing so much about your states and your history. And
it's an honor.
I know a lot, but it was just a great conversation. So thank you so much.
It is a great honor, and with all of you, and especially Guillaume is somewhere there and his son, it's very, very hard feeling, very good feeling of getting back together and enjoy this future and this permanent future.
It's really great, and I know Guillaume and Maxime and everyone at Folio is so excited to work with you and your wines. So it's just an honor. But I want to thank you again, and we're going to sign off for now.
Right.
Our next live conversation will be February 11th, 2 weeks from now, with Mark and Eric Perrin of Chateau Carbonu in Bordeaux. So we'll go live from Bordeaux in 2 weeks. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And again, Alvaro, thank you so much. We'll sign off for now. Have a great rest of the day.
A toast for good times coming.
Cheers. I'll toast to that.
Pleasure. Bye-bye. Ciao.
All right. Cheers. Bye, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks.